Hey guys.
Hey.
Hello.
All right, you guys ready to get started?
Mm,
All right. I guess a lot of the class we've been reading about, like in our first class, was about how to identify gifted individuals. And it seemed like our most recent one has been talking about identification practices and kind of the program rationale. So I guess we should start with, why should identification practices align with services?
Well, for one, they should focus on finding students who will benefit academically and socially from their program services.
Okay.
Um,
I feel like you want to be able to identify students and you want to be able to kind of meet their needs. So once you can identify the students, then you need to figure out, okay, this student has a strength in math, this one has one in literacy, this one has one in science, and then figure out how to best meet their needs.
right.
Um, and I remember in the book, it talked about like the assessments need to be qualitative as well as quantitative and come from a variety of sources. So looking at like teacher feedback and the surveys and, the assessments, that sort of thing all comes in to get a good picture of the student.
Yeah, and identification should focus more on the needs of the students in order to, be able to plan appropriate instruction. It shouldn't be just an effort to label
Mm-hmm.
the student as gifted. Okay, their needs should be matched to the services that are being provided.
Correct.
Yeah, I agree with all of you. And the biggest takeaway I had from reading everything is that, like Josephine said, the needs of the student need to be met.
Correct. And I feel like a lot of our schools already do that, because I know in my school, kindergarten and first grade students who we feel have like a lot of potential and have different reasoning skills and, maybe excel at reading or math or writing, they do get some services where we just kind of make our own groups, and RTD teachers do work with them 1 to 2 days a week. But I feel like in that regard, we're kind of looking at trying to meet the students' needs even before they are recognized.
Yeah, once our kids are identified as gifted in our school, mostly services in reading and math
Mm-hmm.
are what's being provided. As far as science and social studies, not so much. But there's pull-out programs and co-teaching and push-in, and a lot of collaboration with the TD teacher as well, with the regular classroom teacher to meet the needs of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of our science, they push those kids towards a science Olympiad. They push the like math kids towards our math Olympiad. And then they also do a lot of like I'm sure you guys do the same thing, but like the lighthouse projects and the bridge projects and whatnot that they do like in third, fourth, and fifth grade, maybe. So I feel like they do some of those too. But then I feel like, as you were saying, a lot of it is math and literacy. So the science kind of gets incorporated with some of the projects that they kind of elicit on their own when the teacher kind of guides them. All right. Do you think that students should be identified for gifted students if the program does not serve their talent area? Maybe Rachel?
Yeah, I thought that, gifted students need to be in a gifted program,
Okay.
and that they need to be flexible to meet those needs.
Mm-hmm.
In one of the articles that we read, it said academically or intellectually gifted students exhibit high performance capability in intellectual areas, specific academic fields, or in both intellectual areas and specific academic needs.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of times their needs aren't met in a regular classroom setting. And so I think by being in a gifted program, even if it's not in their talent area, that more of their needs are being met
Mhm.
and that, you know, that's the goal, is to have their needs met. And I think
I
if
guess it kind of also
well,
depends.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
I was just saying, I guess it kind of depends on what their needs are. Because I know, like, with a lot of our assessments, it's like math and literacy is what we kind of look at. So then you have to look at variety of sources to figure out, well, is there wealth of knowledge really in science? Is it really in, famous people? Is it really in, creative measures? Trying to figure that out. And once you know that, I feel like they're also going to excel in something else. Like they might be really good at reading because they like to research. So I guess I have a tough time understanding if the program is not necessarily meeting their service area, because I feel like the gifted program should be able to encompass so much with it and be able to take each child's needs or each child's, strengths and pull them in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Well, I also,
go
go
ahead.
ahead, sorry.
You go ahead.
Well, I just think also that, even if the program doesn't serve their talent areas,
Mhm.
maybe that is an indicator that the program needs to be reevaluated,
That's a good point. Yeah.
to see, like, is what being done right now, is it effective in meeting the needs of the students? So,
And if
that's
it's
why
not
that's
changing,
why students, they need to be identified, because even if the program doesn't accommodate them, then we need to find a way so that their talents can be developed and shouldn't suffer from from the program not serving their talents. So I think, like I said, that that's an opportunity for all the stakeholders to kind of reevaluate, look at the program. Is it really meeting the needs of the population?
yeah, I like how you said that, because if it's not meeting the needs, it needs to be changed.
Yeah. So that's, I kind of got that throughout all the reading, that, you should really, all the stakeholders should really, is what is being used really working and meeting the needs of the kids? And that all students should, we need to find ways to help their talents be developed.
Yeah, I agree with all of you that the services should reflect the students' abilities, their needs, and their interests, and it should meet their needs. So I agree as well.
Hmm. And if it doesn't, we've got to just make some changes so we can.
Right.
Okay. One of the things that the book talked about was a comprehensive programming for gifted students. And I guess kind of looking at what does it mean to have a comprehensive program? And then do we think that like our schools should attempt to provide it? Like would it be beneficial to our students? So I kind of had to go back to the book and figure out what it meant. But from what I took away, it was, a thoughtful, like well-designed plan that would deliver instruction to our students' needs. And it had to look at the learning profiles of the students and the level of challenge that they're already receiving and where they're ready to be challenged. And had to look at what they're getting like in the classroom and then offer them enrichment opportunities and ideas to explore. And I remember Rachel kind of telling me that it was across all grade levels. So I guess it was kind of how I was making meaning of what that meant.
And it also said that it had to meet all of the diverse needs of the gifted learner, so academic, social, intellectual, and emotional.
Okay.
And so, reflecting back on the programs that our program at my school, and I was like, oh yeah, that's what we work on that. But then, it also has to include enrichment and acceleration. We do enrichment, but acceleration is not something that we do
Okay.
at my school. So I was like, well, there's a lot of benefits of it, but it has to be right for the kids if they're going to accelerate it. So I don't know if it's just that like it hasn't been right for any of the students that we have, or if it's just something that they don't do in general.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
I feel like my program at my school does a great job with like the academic needs. When it comes to like the social and emotional, I feel like those are the things that are kind of like something that classroom teachers mostly working on. But just because the way our program is laid out, when they get, into their groupings and they're pulled out for different things, I feel like they're working more on the academics with the challenge and rigor to that challenge. So I feel like the social and emotional is something that we're mostly working on in the classroom to kind of build up those relationships and help each other understand each other. But that's also me, just hearing what they're doing in there. So I can't really say that that's correct, but that's
Well,
what
when I think of comprehensive programming, it's a way for everyone involved, like educators and administration and people from the community,
Mhm.
gifted and talented coordinators coming together and figuring out like a needs assessment, and how are we going to meet the needs of the gifted and talented students. It should address like the learning profiles of the students, and it should go along with the goals of the state and the district and the local norms.
Mhm.
So that's what I read that in the reading as well. And we got to make sure that we're providing a challenging curriculum for all the students. We need to make sure, how they're already being served within the district and looking for areas that need improvement.
Mhm.
And, especially for those high potential students who are lacking in services. And, in order for a gifted program to be high quality, there's got to be meaningful learning in the regular classroom. And that should be like the foundation for the gifted students' learning activity, that they should have like high quality, meaningful learning. And that should be incorporated into the plan.
Mhm. I think that's really important that they're, getting that high quality of anything. And I like how you kind of said like it encompasses like the community of like all these different people working together. And I guess the way I see it is like I feel schools should try to offer that, but I do see that they're offering as much as they can, and that does put a lot on them of figuring out like, okay, when can we do this? Is this after school? Is this before school? Who are our community people that can come in and help to meet those needs? But I do really like that it was kind of like all ages across all content areas and all grade levels. And I think that I can't speak for everybody, but I know my school really tries to get all grade levels, because even though those kids that aren't identified, we still try to pull them out and give them some cluster groups of high performing individuals so they can kind of brainstorm and get ideas off each other. And I know some of you have shared the same things, like with other ones that your schools try to do the same thing. So I guess I'm for one for saying I think we should try in the schools, I guess to the best of our ability.
Right. I mean, you got to take into consideration like the budget, and there's like a lot of different aspects involved in having a fully comprehensive, high quality program. And what resources are available, and so there's a lot of planning and research that needs to be done in order to develop that kind of program for a school.
And then you said with research, like the TD teachers are going to need some sort of training. And I feel like each year, I think, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but maybe I feel like after you've done like all this different assessment, if you need another TD teacher, I feel like schools need to be given more resources to be able to fully meet those needs. Because you may only have 35 TD this year, but then in the fall, you may have an additional 32 that qualify, and you're going to need additional people with additional training to do that.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think that we also need to look at how our students are being served within and outside of the district as well, as a part of that plan as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. I like, there's the reading, mentions that student interests and meaningful learning should, drive their meeting their potential.
Mhm.
But I just feel that, there's population is so big in our school that that's kind of hard to really give each and every single gifted child their own individual plan. You understand what I'm saying? Like I just, like, our school does a good job at, providing services and whatnot, but I really don't see a lot of independent problem project-based learning going on.
And you'd like to see that more in the program, right?
I'd like to see that more in the program, because it's like, I just feel that maybe, they're receiving advanced curriculum
Mhm.
enrichment. But I just, like, I really don't see a lot of that teacher facilitator thing going on, where the interests and of the child are being taken into consideration.
Mhm. I agree with that. I think that's
I just
hard.
don't see the learning being meaningful to them. That makes sense.
Mhm.
One of the things that my school does is the school-wide enrichment model. And so it's based on student interest. And, at first people were really skeptical about doing it throughout our entire school. But, after students did their own research and for whatever their cluster was, which was based on their interest, and they developed a product and they presented their products, it was just like, wow, this is absolutely incredible, like how much they have learned from this just because it's something that they're interested in. And, throughout the way I was like, I'm not really quite sure if they're kind of like really, making the best use of their time. But by the end, you were just like, I can't believe how much they learned from this, and how just because they were interested in it, they got so much more out of it.
Right. And I'd like
Yeah.
to see more of that
Mm-hmm.
happening in my school.
Mhm.
But I really, I mean, I don't really have the opportunity to see what's going on in a third, fourth, or fifth grade classroom, because I'm in my second grade classroom all day long.
Mhm.
And I know my kids are being pulled out for math and literacy, but I have no idea of the activities that they're doing. That's not shared with us. So I think there needs to be more collaboration between the TD teacher and regular classroom teachers to see, what's going on and how, what those kids are doing. And I mean, I see their work posted in the hallways, but that's about it.
And I like how you said like the projects, but honestly, like the whole like interest-based projects and research and all that, that was kind of new to me with this class, as was like the compactor and like trying like the most difficult first technique and whatnot. So I feel like those were things that I took away as huge takeaways, and now maybe I need to work on implementing more of them with my students, like in my time, because maybe that would help them, and because they do spend more time with me than with the TD teacher, so that way they would have more time to do it. But I do agree 100% with what you're saying. I'd like to see more of that. It makes me turn and think, okay, how can I do more of that to meet their needs and keep their interest at heart?
Right. And I think there should be professional development for regular classroom teachers,
Mhm.
to meet the needs of gifted students. I mean, like, I before taking these classes, I was kind of like one of those teachers. I didn't know, like, seriously, knowing the characteristics of a gifted child, and, that their brain does work differently, and, not passing that child that has behavior problems as a being just a pain in the neck. that, that there may be a reason for that. So I think, there should be more professional development for the whole school to really be on board with meeting the needs of the gifted kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's beneficial, maybe not 4 courses in it, but at least some kind of reference point and, just some kind of basic knowledge of what it means to meet the needs of gifted students. So,
Yeah. I feel like a lot of teachers aren't even aware of all of the emotional and social, support that gifted students need. And they just think, oh, the gifted students, they're, the smartest kids and everything. And they're not looking at, the whole child. And people, like you said, need to be aware of that. And if they had some training, then they would understand how to better support them.
Exactly. Well, hopefully that's what we will learn, is how to better support them, even in our own rooms every day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Is there anything else we wanted to talk about?
Mhm.